All right, everybody. So today we've got an amazing list here. It's 10 ideas. So I've been doing this amazing exercise. It's been phenomenal, both to help with creativity, helping me to overcome personal challenges, obstacles, things like that, coming up with business ideas. So this 10 idea list is called 10 unique ideas when feeling stuck to get unstuck. And this is for creative purposes mainly. So if you're feeling stuck creatively, if you're a writer, an artist, a musician, a thinker, a if your job involves any sort of creative thought, things like that, this is going to be a resource to be able to help you get out of any sort of slump. And something that I found great about this exercise is it just helps to unleash like tons and tons of ideas every single day so that you are never at a lack of ideas. You just got this abundance of ideas, this huge, like entire packet of ideas that, I'm constantly updating. And it just feels great because not only do you have these ideas that can potentially, help you in whatever business problem or whatever challenge you're facing, but what happens for me personally is I think that a lot of times I have all of these ideas in my mind, and if you don't write them down, what happens is they just start to pile up. They just start to fill your head, and you don't know what to do with them, and you don't know which one to start acting on. But when you start to write them down, when you start to put them onto paper, and you find yourself putting them into action, things change. So, without further ado, I'm going to start sharing these ideas to help you launch potential, whatever that is, whatever that means for you in specifically your creative endeavors, because that is what this list was geared to. And occasionally some of my lists have things that aren't specific to what I originally set out to put, simply because a good idea pops up and I feel the need to write it down. But we'll look at number one. You've got stream of consciousness on a different medium. Here we go. So if you've ever heard of stream of consciousness, it's basically, just blasting your ideas, your thoughts onto, it's primarily used for paper, or, people use this in therapy, right? The therapist has them sitting on a couch. And I'm not saying that this is therapy. I'm just saying that as an example of how it's applied, therapists have people sit on a couch and they have the person just talk and talk and talk and talk. I think that's what psychotherapists pretty much do. And then the psychotherapist gives their analysis or interpretation of it. Now, I'm not saying that this is what anybody should do. I'm not saying you should go to psychotherapy, or I'm not saying, anything about psychotherapy, but stream of consciousness has shown its use in many ways. And other ways of applying it is, free writing, where people just write and they just write for all of their thoughts. That's like done a lot in journaling. And what I added to it, because I wanted to do something different, because those things are fairly common ideas, is to use a different medium. So if you happen to be a writer, then to try to do a video of it, do a podcast of it, speak into a recording device that may or may not ever get listened to, and do it that way. Or if you're a video and you do a lot of vlogs, you can try to write about it. So that's for the stream of consciousness. And from that stream of consciousness, I did a exercise a little while ago. I wrote 20,000 words in a day. And, there's probably people out there that do it on a regular basis. But for me, that was a challenge. I call it the 20,000 word challenge. You can find it under hashtag 20,000 word challenge. The 20,000 is all 20000. And I did that. And it was amazing because all of these ideas just poured onto the page. I ended up focusing on a theme, but all these ideas poured onto the page, and I started getting new ideas, and ideas just started to compound, and over time they start to add up. So there's tremendous power in that and unlocking your creativity. Now, number two, call a friend to brainstorm. That's pretty self-explanatory. And I think the power in that is that not only are you brainstorming yourself, but you've also got another party. So it's like the mastermind principle. You've got one person where 1 + 1 = 3, right? So you got one person and all the ideas in their mind. And then you got this other second person, your friend, who you're going to brainstorm with, and you got all the ideas in their mind. And then together they create this, alternative not mind, but like the combined thoughts add up and it becomes like a powerful third. Next, there is the number three, see what random people think. Okay, so if you're looking to get some creative ideas around things, instead of just focusing on your own thoughts, what you can do is you can go on social media and start to look at what other people are thinking, what other people are saying about that topic that you're looking for improvement on to be more creative on. And also, number four, we've got trick your mind. And by the way, I wrote these quite a while ago, but trick your mind by doing something different, like reading backwards. This is a very popular one in terms of personal development circles, where if you're not finding results in a certain area, if you're finding like a lack of progress, if you're feeling like there's a stumbling block, like you've hit a roadblock, or there's an obstacle that you can't quite overcome. For example, say you're a programmer, a computer programmer, and you have you have something in programming in your computer system on your computer program or language or whatever, and you can't quite figure out how to fix the bug that's in there. Like your program is broken, but you just know it's just this one line of code that isn't working. So what they recommend is going back to it to another day. Taking a break for 15 minutes. Just take a break for 15 minutes or go to sleep, take a nap, and then come back to it at another time. And that was an example. Reading something backwards, trying to use your mind in a different way is hugely effective at helping you be more creative, because not only are you using the mind that you had because you were, in that creative space, but you're also getting your mind to do something different, to do something that you're not used to. So you're activating different areas of your brain. Next, you got number 5, use a random decision system. Okay, so if you're having a difficult time overcoming a creative obstacle, sometimes it comes down to the decision, right? So you're deciding on whether you want to write about this or that, or whether you want to paint about this or that, or whether you want to talk about that or that or that or that or that. So there's so many different things, and what bogs you down isn't your ability to do any of those things. It's your mind focusing so much on the decision as opposed to the actual action, and that'll bog you down. So what you can do is you can come up with a system, take like a list of the potential creative paths you can take, and then write them all down into an Excel sheet, number them, go to a random number generator, and then pick a random number out of those numbers. And then you could just go from there. That helps alleviate the stress that comes from having to make that sometimes tough decision. Next, we're going to do number 6, change your state to high energy. Be in that state of confidence, be in that state of creative power, that creative energy, and to get into that state. Because for me personally, and also I imagine for many creative people, is that they have a consistent level of performance, right? Because you can't always be at a level 25 throughout your entire time that you're doing something, that you're in activity, right? Even sprinters go for only a very quick distance, brief distance, like 400 meters. Or marathon runners are maintaining like a quite a slower pace than their sprint for 26 miles. So with that, they can't maintain a huge level of energy, a sprinter's level of energy for those full 26 miles, but they can maintain a marathon level of energy for them for 26 miles. So with a creative person, you think about creatively, if you're in a creative role, like a manager, and you got to solve a lot of problems, you're at like a pretty steady pace. You're probably not at a 10 for 9 hours out of the day around your employees. And, that probably might not even be conducive anyway. And you think about seminars, right? You think about people like motivational speakers who are at a 10, but they're only at a 10 or 11 for maybe a few hours out of the day. I mean, I've seen some speakers go as much as 12 hours, but those are for maybe just that weekend. So to be able to maintain that state is really difficult. So what I'm saying is to change your state from low creativity or just regular creativity, just okay, so I'm doing this, I'm writing, I'm speaking, I'm painting, whatever, and kick that up a notch, right? To really increase that so that you can reach that peak creativity. Whatever that means to you, whether that's, frantically writing every idea, frantically drawing on a board, or frantically might not be the best word, but energetically doing everything that's required of creativity. Next, we've got pretend you are someone you admire and imagine what they want help with. Okay, so this is changing it up a little bit. If you're using creativity for business purposes, if you're trying to solve a business problem or you're trying to solve a career problem that you personally have, this is helpful in two ways. On one hand, you're coming up with a solution to someone else's problem, because that solution can end up being something that you get paid for. And also, you're stepping into someone else's shoes that you admire, and you start to think, what would they do? What kind of problems would they have that they want to solve? How can I help them? And in a sense, that's helpful to them, but it's also helpful to you, because when you end up stepping into someone else's shoes, you get a little feel of what that's like. And especially if you're stepping into or working towards stepping into the shoes of someone much more successful than you, obviously someone that you admire, then there's a level of becoming that person to an extent. You're not literally becoming them, but deep down, when you start to step in their shoes, when you start to look in their eyes, in someone else's eyes, you start to, in a sense, become like them. I mean, if you do this at super intensely, like what would it be like if it was like this person? Let me imagine myself in their shoes, what their apartment would look like, what their house would look like, what their day-to-day would look like. So it depends on a level of intensity that you do this exercise, but that can help you not only solve someone else's problem, but it also takes your mind off your own problem. And if they're really successful, there's a lot of truth into the concept of faking it till you make it, imagining yourself where you want to be. So there's that benefit of it as well. And then we look at number 8, try caffeine from different source. Now here's an interesting one. And when you try caffeine from a different source, so if you're constantly drinking coffee, try tea. Or if you're constantly drinking tea or coffee, try yerba mate. If you're drinking yerba mate, try drinking an energy drink. Like caffeine has a similar, makeup or ingredient or chemical makeup, but at the end of the day, it's a combination of things and how they're formed throughout the world that can possibly have a different way it affects you. Like personally, I don't know the science of caffeine, but I find different types of thinking when I go from coffee to tea. And I prefer tea because I feel differently when I drink tea, and it helps me think more creatively in a better way that's more effective for me. Next, we've got number 9. Number 9 is have auto suggestions for creativity. Now, there's a science called creating auto suggestions, and you have to go back as far as like the 1900s or before, to when Napoleon Hill is writing his book Think and Grow Rich, based on all sorts of other very successful business people and scientists. And with that work, he talked about the concept of auto-suggestion, which is basically telling yourself things every day. And here's the thing is we already tell ourselves things every single day. We've got things that run through our minds like, oh, I can't do that. I can't possibly succeed at that. That won't work. That's not going to happen. I can't imagine myself doing that. So you got all these negative things that you're already telling yourself. And what the goal of auto-suggestion does is it helps you to change that, to flip that, to start telling yourself things that are productive, that are conducive to success, that are going to help you launch potential, that are going to help you become more successful, that are going to help you do bigger and better things. And with that, you're getting this benefit of transforming your mind. Now, I'm not going to get too scientific about this, and I'm not going to say like, scientific evidence from the researchers at XYZ research facility have decided that when you tell yourself things, it changes your mind and the shape of your mind. No, so I'm not going to get into that, but there is research, throughout history that have said that how you talk to yourself, the things that you say to yourself, the ideas that you put into your mind, the things that you listen to have an effect on who you are and your beliefs and your belief systems and all that. It has an impact on your life. So this is huge. And I mentioned to have auto suggestions for creativity. So literally, here's a couple ideas. Be prepared to tell yourself, okay, I am creative. I am full of amazing ideas. I am, and just say I as in you. So you would say things like, or if here's another caveat about auto suggestions. So if you don't believe it, the thing is the power of auto suggestion is when you do it so intensely, so powerfully over time, it starts to sink in and you start to believe what you're saying. And that's powerful. But when you're just getting started, here's the thing is when you're just getting started and doing auto suggestion, when you're just starting to try and implement it, there's some things that you might not believe. You might not believe you're creative. You might not believe you have the answers. So what you have to say, and it's the truth because your mind can tell fact from fiction, the truth is that you're working on improving your creativity. I am working to improve my creativity. I am improving to be better at my craft. I am starting to recognize greater abundance of ideas in my life. So that is where it's going to be powerful, right? And that's auto-suggestion in a nutshell. And there's a lot more that you can dive into this as like a science. There's so many great books on it. How to talk to yourself or how to speak to yourself is one. I can't remember the author. Tony Robbins calls them incantations. Think and Grow Rich. And there's a lot more. So with that, we're on to number 10. Number 10 is write observations about things or people or other. Okay, so just observing the world, taking the time to either observe the world or people. I used to do this exercise back when I lived in Arkansas, and I was sitting around I would go to like parks, and I would just go watch people and things and just write things about them, like try to create stories about them. And people would inspire me to come up with these amazing characters because you take a moment, and I'm not saying that, you should look at someone and, make up something about them and believe that to be truth. People are much deeper than how they look. And I think that can unleash the power. This exercise unleashes the power of that premise is that people are more than they appear in many positive ways. And, so as you're doing this exercise and you're observing things, it just starts to give you more awareness of what's around you, more awareness of people, helps you connect better with the world. And then you start coming up with ideas, especially if you're like a screenwriter. This could be very helpful because you're coming up with ideas for characters and ideas of the way things interact with each other. And I've found amazing benefit from these ideas. And here's the fun thing about these ideas is the further down the list I go on these is the more thought that had to get put in them. Because, I knock out like the first 4 pretty quickly. Sometimes it's only the first 2. And then sometimes I get up to 8 very quickly. But then number 9, number 10, I'm sitting there and I got to think extra creatively about what I should add. So with that, this is ideas, 10 unique ideas when feeling stuck to get unstuck creatively. And I hope this was helpful to you. If you found these ideas wonderful, be sure to comment, share, subscribe, like, engage. You can reach out to me on social media at MindsetFerg. And this is Strategic Possibilities Podcast. Be sure to launch potential. I wish you the best and I wish you success and have a wonderful day. And thank you for listening.